Okay, so we've got today, from yesterday, 31st, 4361. We were predicting 4497, so we're off by 3%. The numbers are dropping off quite rapidly, as predicted according to what other countries. So I'm predicting it's going to follow roughly an average in the middle here between Italy and Korea, and we'll end up at that 3% mark, which is down here. Right, so 3% will end up at 3% if we maintain our social measures. But how long can we do it for is the question. So here you can see it's dropping from 5, and we over that same period we end up in the 0.03s, and then we get crowd immunity starts kicking in, and it goes into the 0.2. Right, so we end up with that curve. That's the infectious rate. This is all dropped due to social measures. It's very strong social measures, but can we sustain it for like a year as it drops down over this distance? Can we relax it? So we've got this curve, we've got this bed capacity, and we can't cross this line. But the name of the game here is we want people to move effectively from here. We've got susceptible at the start. We're way over here at the moment, so we're down here in my level here, we're talking day 32 at the moment, which is around here. So this red line is recovered, and here is susceptible. So at the start everyone is susceptible, and we need people to drop down this line, less susceptible people with more recovered people. But how do we do that? We're right down over here. So anyone that says, "Oh, we'll relax it, all these social measures will be relaxed soon," what are we talking? We've got like 4,000 recovered people here. That's the immunity. We don't have a vaccine, so infectious rates will go up back to 30%. Just not realistic. So we're trying to get people infected realistically, but safely within the realms of underneath this line. We can't get this line crossed, and definitely can't get the ICU hospital line crossed. So you're seeing part of the chart here. We will curve down with a long tail on the other side, but we're trying to get people safely infected so they can hit the other side of the curve. Ideally, we would sit underneath this line perfectly, because it's the volume underneath this chart that we need to get that volume as soon as possible, so that we can go back to life as normal again. So ideally you would get infections slope up towards here, but stop and never ever cross the line, and definitely never cross the people requiring ICU beds under this line. So at the moment this model is suggesting that we maintain for the rest of the year, that we get down to these levels. Sure, we've slowed the rate and people are getting access to healthcare, but we've got to be locked into the house and not go to restaurants and be limited to 2 people in gatherings, and who knows how strong. So as an experiment here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of relaxation. So 88, by the way, is the level, an arbitrary level of social measure that I've got in this, and that social measure 88 equates to where we end up, and I have to put 88 here to get to the approximately 0.3 infectious rate. So if we relax that, let's see how effective we can and sort of get our life back to normal without crossing the line. So for example, early in, because we're so down here, the gap is the largest, we can potentially, so each of these is represents a 2-week reprieve from our social measures. So in May, this represents a 2-week reprieve. So if we say that drops from 88 to 0.3, right, we'll see a change in the chart, and it pops up, the infectiousness just ramps up, but these people can all go to hospital. That's safe, right? Then May, June, around day 100, If we drop it to 0.3 again, we get a massive spike because there's too many people infected, and putting things back to even slightly relaxing puts us way over the line. So even, let's say 0.5, so going from 0.88 to 0.5, still can't do it. 0.6, still, and definitely look at the ICU line, 0.7. We can't even make a 7 because these people who require ICU and can't get access to a bed are definitely, that's 100% mortality right there. So we have to leave it at 0.88, which is the infectivity line of the curve which I showed you earlier. So we're basically, maybe on the other side in November, if we drop that slightly and relax it back over here, again, that's even worse because of infectivity. So there is some perfect social measure, and models better than mine are being enacted. We're growing in bed numbers, but we want to track underneath this line of people that are creating models similar to this, but way more sophisticated and better. They're trying to work out how to avoid catastrophe above our hospital access line. That's what we're trying to do. One of the key things would be something like what in Korea is so effective is testing. They're testing people, and if you remove infectious people earlier, then the rest of people who aren't affected may be able to relax and get back to life as normal. At the moment, we're blanket applying the same rules to everybody. They're all equally affected with rules. Infected people, if we take them out of this population until they recover, may return things back to normal sooner. But we need to, anyway, you need to look at it. You need to increase your recovered people. You want to reduce this simultaneously infected population. You want to drop that down. This is pretty much a do-nothing graph. So you peak, if we did no social measure, we'd peak with 7 million infections at the same time. You can only imagine what would happen then. And then we got this crowd immunity. So susceptible people will drop off, and the only way to do that would be over long periods of time. And capacity is what's necessary at this stage. Capacity and testing is what's required. Hope you found this useful.